Choosing the right projector for your golf simulator can make or break your setup. The wrong one, you'll deal with shadows, poor brightness, or a stretched image that really doesn't look right. The right one, you'll have an immersive, crystal clear golf experience that feels like you're standing right on the 7th tee at Pebble. Can you beat that? In this video, we're giving you a crash course on golf simulator projectors, everything from lumens to throw ratio to resolution and everything in between. Part 2 of this series will dive into mounting, fine-tuning, and optimizing the setup, but today we're going to talk through the specs involved and the selection process for these projectors in order for you to pick the perfect option for your space. First up here, we're going to talk about why selecting the right projector is such a critical decision when building a simulator. Your projector isn't just a display, it's what turns your simulator into a truly immersive visual experience. It's responsible for projecting your course image from the sim software onto your impact screen, and the right projector brings together three things: brightness, clarity, and the geometry of your screen. Without those, even the best simulator software won't look its best. Now, projectors have all sorts of technical specs that can cause a lot of noise in the space, so we want to walk through today the main specs you're going to run into when shopping for a projector, and some that you can relatively ignore. So first up, we have lumens, and this is simply the brightness that the projector is able to get to. Usually, you're going to see projector lumens ranging from 3,000 to 5,000 at the consumer price points, but extremely high performance options like what you might see in a movie theater are tens of thousands of dollars and tens of thousands of lumens. For a relatively dark basement install, 3,000 to 4,000 lumens usually works just fine, especially if you've darkened your back wall with paint, a light blocking curtain, or any sort of light absorbent material. For brighter spaces, think south-facing garages or rooms with a lot of windows that bring in ambient light, you're probably going to want to bump up towards the 5,000 lumen mark, and still probably plan to absorb some of that light behind the screen with something dark. Now, that single adjustment can completely change your image quality and completely change the immersiveness of your experience. But keep in mind that lumens tend to also be one of, if not the most impactful on the overall cost of your simulator. All right, that's enough about lumens. Let's jump into the spec that is most unique within the golf sim category, and that is the throw ratio. Throw ratio is the distance between your projector and your screen divided by the width of the image. So for a 10-foot wide image, a standard throw model of 1:1 will show a 10-foot wide image in its native resolution. If the projector is 10 feet from the screen and the ratio is 0.5:1, a 10-foot image could be shown about 5 feet from the screen. So let's slow that down for a second. Most of our setups are going to be about 12 feet wide. Some can get to 16 feet wide, but when you deal with these 12 feet wide images, a 0.5:1 short throw projector is usually about 8 feet from the screen. When you're dealing with 0.75 or 0.8, you might be 9 to 10 feet from the screen. So all of this is pretty critical when selecting where your projector might need to be. Again, we're going to deal in the next part of this video with where to position the projector, but this is definitely something to keep in mind. Now, we deal mostly with short throw ratios ranging in the 0.5:1 to 0.8:1 range, but we definitely still see some applications that are able to use your more standard 1:1 ratios. The reason short throw models are popular is because if the projector is too far behind you in that hitting area, you may either hinder your swing physically, or you might be casting your shadows on the screen, and really nothing's going to trigger a golfer more than some moving shadows right in your backswing on the screen in front of you. I don't know why that drives me so crazy, but I don't think I'm the only one. Anyways, that's enough of that. Next up, we're going to talk about the aspect ratio. With your setup, most of the simulators that we see are going to be a 4:3 aspect ratio. But here's a lot of details that people miss, and this is going to bring things full circle back to the throw ratio. Most projectors are natively 16:9 in the native resolution. So when you switch to a 4:3 mode, you're going to keep the same height of the image, but you're actually just going to truncate in the width. The reason you need to know this is in order to get that width out to where you truly need it to be again, you got to back that thing up a few extra feet. So definitely want to factor this in when you're doing your selection process. That means if you're going with a 4:3 ratio screen, which most do to achieve the necessary height, you'll usually have to move the projector back about 20% further than what the original calculation would have told you. And again, we'll dig deeper into this in the product placement in the projector placement video, but for now, this is a big one to keep in mind when you're still in the selection process. So last but not least with the specs here is resolution. And this one frequently throws some people off. So obviously the hot button item as of the recording of this video is everyone wants 4K. This is great. 4K images are amazing in quality, but the biggest issue we see is, are you really getting 4K out of your projector? To truly get a 4K image, we need to look at every single component to this visual projection. Your HDMI cable needs to support 4K. Your PC needs to support 4K. The software needs to support 4K, as well as the projector. And your native aspect ratio typically needs to be a 16:10. So if just one part, if just the cable isn't 4K, if you're moving it to a 4:3 image, you may not actually end up with 4K, even though the projector says it is able to do that. Something to keep in mind here. Our words of advice, obviously 4K is great, but a well-tuned 1080p laser projector in a relatively dark room is going to look fantastic for you. Now, just some other specs to consider here. You're going to see terms like input lag, which has to do with the software compatibility, maximum image width, which for the projectors that we select won't come into play. Those are going to be qualifiers for your space and your software, but we don't often see these come up in our build outs. And then we have a few other adjustment metrics like the keystone, lens shift, zoom, some other fancy terms that we'll cover in the optimization video part 2 when you're really just looking to fine tune that image and fit your screen as best possible. So again, we'll break that down in the next video when we cover placement and optimization, but now let's talk real life applications. So before you pick a projector, assuming that you've already selected your room and you need to decide on your screen and enclosure before you do this as well, you're going to need to decide, how are we going to mount the projector? Is it going to sit on a floor enclosure like the one shown here? Or are we dealing with a ceiling mounted option? This really doesn't impact where the projector is going to be placed. Whether it's on the floor or the ceiling, it's going to be equally as far back from the screen. But if you're running a floor mounted unit, you're going to need to keep in mind that a true short throw with a 0.5:1 approximate ratio is probably going to need to be locked in, because you're going to have to be hitting the ball over the top of this ramped in mount, and that's just not something you can do if it's right on top of you. So again, 0.5:1 ratio is pretty typical for the floor, and even then that's also going to be 7 feet back for a 10 or 11 foot wide screen. So for right now, we're not locking in the exact placement. We're just going to understand your limitations and make sure the models that you're looking at will actually work for you in your space. Now, we know that your enclosure size and the mounting type, the next step here is to match the brightness to your price point. Brightness, again, measured in lumens. This is what drives a majority of the cost differential in projectors. So you're going to see entry-level units like the one shown right here. This is a 3200 lumen projector. This is going to work fine if you have a relatively dark basement or an enclosed room with not too much of ambient light through windows. And this is going to be that 0.5:1 aspect ratio that, or excuse me, 0.5:1 throw ratio that we mentioned. Now, also at this time, this is about a $1,000 product as of the recording of this video. As you get into the models like you see here, this is a 4200 lumen projector. This jumps you up all the way to $1,500, and some other models get close to $2,000 within this lumen count. So as you can see, the price as you work up in lumens is typically the biggest driver. It's certainly not the only factor, but it is a pretty big driver in the overall price point that you end up with. Now, high-end laser projectors like this BenQ model that we have here, you can easily get into the $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 cost. It's going to be much brighter. There's some pretty awesome features that we'll cover in the next video of this one, where there's some auto focus of the screen and auto geometry correction of the screen, which obviously can justify a higher price point. But again, just to wrap this up from a budgeting standpoint, your entry-level lumen counts usually are in the $1,000 range as of the recording of this video in 2025. Your mid-tier, 2,000 can be the expectation there. And then your 4K higher lumen, pretty dialed in projectors are gonna be that $3,000, $4,000 cost. So to help visualize this, I've got a few models here in front of me that's gonna represent each tier. They all look fairly similar in size, but I've obviously just covered the specs involved. And even though they look the same on paper, the overall differences are pretty drastic. Again, entry level for controlled rooms, mid-range for some mixed lighting environments, and premium laser here for anyone chasing that true 4K experience. So we've now covered the specs. Now let's make it a little bit easier to find the right unit for you. So if you go over to our golf simulator projector collection at rainorShineGolf.com, we have built a filter that allows you to sort by throw ratio, lumen count, aspect ratio, price, as well as a variety of other specs based on the decisions that you have made with your spec sheet. We'll organize everything from entry level to high end so you can see exactly what fits your space and budget. And as always, if any of this sounds intimidating, don't worry, just call our Sim Squad technical team for quick, easy recommendations. Pro tip here, ask for Oliver. He is an absolute wizard with projectors. File that one away. Well, that's it for part one. That wraps up the golf simulator projector selection video. And again, in part two, we're gonna dive into placement, mounting, optimizing, and really fitting your screen so that you can go from selection to full optimized image quality. And if you found this helpful, hit subscribe, drop your questions in the comments, check the links below for a full buyer's guide on projectors and our collection page, and we'll see you in part two.